Good morning. Happy Friday. Inside the game. Jonathan Turner alongside Nathan Wangler. We're excited to have you here. That's right. On the National Soccer Network. And it is Friday. It is the second day. And we are just 3 days away from the all-encompassing Cinco de Mayo. The nonstop drinking of tequila. Until you wake up in a bed you don't recognize.
No.
Isn't that how it works?
No.
It's like St. Patty's Day, right? Same thing, right? You drink until you don't know what, you just wake up in a bed you don't remember. How'd I get here?
Everyone pretends
maybe
like they're
something
Irish
drawn on, maybe something drawn on your face, like Nathan has right now, like these weird lines and peeling and whatnot, right? I can attest to you that in the three times that I've drinking tequila in my lifetime, I have a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 12-year-old to show for it. So,
oh, jeez,
that is. It's not the 3 times I've drinking tequila. I have 3 glorious kids who are great tax deductions and just drain your bank account.
Yep.
Kids.
They'll do it.
Love it.
They'll do it.
Yep. Love it. But
everyone has that same strategy, though, when they go and drink tequila. Like, they got to have the salt on, and then they got to lick that, and then they got the other stuff. I never do any of that, man. I just take it just straight to the dome. Nope, just give it to me. I'll just drink it. And the burn's never a bad thing to me, personally. Of course, I don't have any kids to speak of, but I have had it before, multiple different varieties of it. And was it Joe Nichols, who was the country singer that tequila will make your clothes fall off? It's true. It is true. He was very astute when he made that observation, and I think everybody kind of saw after he released that song, like, hey, I think this guy's got a point. I think he's onto something, and it is true. It is 100% true. So not my go-to, but I will say every now and again, a nice little one of those will it'll wake you up for say, because it's potent, strong. It'll hit you like a brick, if you will, kind of like my instant coffee, which I've gotten away from, by the way. I get coffee firm. I don't know if you guys watch anymore or anybody else, but it's this it's not instant anymore. It's actual coffee. I finally made the transition. Proud of myself. Very
That's
proud
good,
of
man.
myself.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, hey, to each their own, right?
That's what I'm saying.
It's funny. I'm sitting here this Friday morning and looking at our upcoming game schedule this weekend. We've got 16 games that'll take place on the platform this weekend. Well, take that back. 11 will be on our platform. The other 5 are ESPN broadcasts. But either way, we have these games this weekend, and you're thinking about the schedule and thinking about this. We also had this high school game last night, our first high school game of the season. And to be fair, I'll be the first one to tell you that it's weird. It's weird. Like, the girls' soccer season, for some reason, just isn't as receptive to the boys' soccer season, and I don't know why that is. I don't know. I couldn't put a finger on it. I can't be like, okay, this is why, right? Even like our news stories as it relates to girls' soccer just don't do as well as boys' soccer. And again, I don't know why that is.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could put my finger on it and say, well, this is it. I really do hope it has nothing to do with the fact that the girls don't care, because I don't think that's a thing.
Mm-mm.
Maybe they just aren't. I don't know why. It just doesn't make sense to me. But be that as it may, last night we did our first high school girls soccer game, Troy Athens versus Grand Blanc. You were on the call last night. Justin Pollington was our producer. Sam Fisher was our camera operator. And it's interesting because for the first 2.5 years of us doing this, it was, you call a school like Athens on game day. Hey, we're going to be there, 3 hours before kickoff, lugging our bins of gear, and every time I went to a stadium, I felt like I was carrying one more thing than the last time, right? One more cord, one more, TV monitor, one more camera, one more whatever. It always felt like I was just carrying one more thing, right? And now we roll in at It's 6 o'clock. We roll in an hour beforehand. We set the camera up. We turn on a button, and then the signal is coming back to our studio here in Shelby, and we're able to call a game. I mean, again, you were in Grand Rapids last night where you live. The game was in Troy. We're streaming it from our Shelby Township studios. I mean, it's pretty cool when you think about it, right? Because I'm sitting at the game last night and I'm watching it on my phone and I'm kind of walking through the bleachers and I see, some people and they're like, "Oh, what do you know?" And they can hear your voice. I'm like, that is really cool, right? They're like, "He's not even here." I go, "No, he's not even here. No, not even here." Like, what? Like, not even here. Like, it's
Wait, they could hear my voice at the stadium? Where could they hear my voice?
well, I was walking through the stadium with my and having it loud. I wanted people to kind of hear it, and they're like, "Where's it
Oh,
coming from?" I'm like, "It's coming from YouTube," and they're like, "Is he up in the press box?" I go, "Nope, nope, not here." Well, who's here? I go, "Our camera guy up there."
God.
Like, come on now, man. Like, right, what is this? What is this magic?
What is this nonsense?
What is, what is going on here, right?
Rank it out.
There's no magic. It's just, well, I mean, there might be some magic, but it's the magic of technology. But
Right.
they're like, he's not here. Like, that's really cool. And again, you would never know that you weren't there.
Mm-mm.
It would never be known. You know,
Right.
but just just it's really kind of cool. It's sometimes you have to kind of like I say pinch myself, but I have to kind of go, wow, man, that's really kind of neat how we're able to pull that off and do that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
We're all of our games are that way. I mean,
Mhm.
very rarely are we at a site now doing a game
Right.
with all of our gear.
Mhm.
And I'm so happy that we don't have to do that. So anyways. So yeah, so that's where we are with everything. As far as yesterday is concerned, big bunch of games coming up this weekend. Yesterday we talked on the platform on the network about that goal that should have been called back on Tuesday night. Me and John Natale spoke at length about that and looked at the law and explained it and the positioning and things like that. What could have been different from the referee standpoint? I mentioned positioning, and that's really what would have been, the difference maker in that call. But I really have no idea what to talk about today, Nathan. I mean, we're episode 76. I'm sitting here going, what is it that we could talk about today? That maybe those at home would like to participate in. Any ideas?
Well, I wanted to talk quickly about that game last night because I do think it's interesting that you brought that up. And the other thing that I know that, at least when we're doing games remotely, we've had those questions and we've already had those conversations about, what does that look like? And is it almost worth the risk sometimes when we're getting these signals from places, across the country? And oftentimes, and I know we have that league over in San Francisco, is it the most reliable thing always? And it's not. I think we've found out that conclusively it is not. I mean, it can tend to actually be the opposite way around. Sometimes it can also be not a very reliable thing to lean on, simply because, again, you talk about teams just not necessarily taking it seriously. But when you look at a school like Athens, and you can speak to this too because obviously you were a coach there, they take a lot of pride in the game of soccer. I think I said yesterday a city in Michigan where soccer is sacred. And I think that's fairly accurate with the way that they treat it. And obviously the alumni game last night was one of those big things because you bring everybody else back under one roof. But the one thing I will say I appreciate is that, one of the qualities of that broadcast was the fact that the Nat sound was where it needed to be. And so when you have that, you're kind of allowed to just let it cruise a little bit. You're kind of allowed to let people just kind of see it and consume it and feel it. And I know that we always talk about on our network that we want our broadcasters to kind of be entertainers at the same exact time too. But I remember I was watching, and I've been watching actually more and more Premier League, Champions League, just to try more the announcing side than anything else, simply because, coming from the school of baseball, a little bit different, coming from the school of, obviously I've done a lot more basketball, volleyball growing up than I have necessarily soccer. That's not to say I haven't done a decent amount of soccer at where I was in college, but never really quite to the extent that I had to start thinking about certain things, how to do this on a professional level. Because now, obviously, with what we're trying to do, and obviously arena soccer is a little bit different, but the real deal, especially with the new soccer team coming to town, and I'm partially crossing my fingers that once they get here, that maybe I can be in the running for being the guy that ends up calling their games. But one of the things you always notice about the broadcasters on the highest level is, and it's something that I think is a line that we have to toe. Being able to just kind of let the play go, let it ride out, and let people enjoy that nat sound, which I thought was perfect, can make a big difference. And I think it can make it really enjoyable. So that was another thing. And I think Sam Fisher's a pro, and that's part of the I think when people reacted, at least to you playing that broadcast, and they reacted like it was magic, that's part of the reason why we do this. It's part of the reason why we have this show. It's part of the reason why we make the sales calls, because we want people to understand that this type of technology exists. And it's interesting because, as technology normally goes, it's available long before people actually know that it's available. Typically, you'll see technology that's being used, and then a couple of years down the line, people actually catch up on it. But that's where we are. And that's why I said yesterday, sometimes it feels like the technology itself maybe is advancing a little bit quicker than our understanding of it. And I think those parents are a perfect representation of that, because they saw what we were doing. They're like, wow, that's possible. And it's like, well, yeah. I mean, the major networks have been doing it off and on since COVID. I mean, they've been doing a lot of remote stuff. We've been doing it for the last however many years. We've been covering Michigan-based stuff. So yeah, it 100% is, but it's all of the other things included in that, the natural sound, all that other stuff, that I think makes a huge, huge difference at the end of the day. And I don't know. I think we're fortunate to be in a part of the state too that really takes the soccer side seriously. I can't answer why maybe they don't take the women's side as seriously as the men's side. I think it's unfortunate. I think it's just a bias, maybe sometimes against women's sports than anything else. Although we're seeing obviously that starting to get reversed now, but all in all, I think the different aspects of that was great.
I don't think that that's it. At this level, I don't think. To be fair, at all levels, I can't put my finger on it. I wish I could put my finger on why it's different. I wish I could.
Yeah.
I think at some levels, I think that we get a lot of great feedback and participation from girls soccer, players, coaches, parents. But we get way more from the boys' side, way more participation, way more excitement, way more views. And I don't know why that is. I mean, we could say, well, everybody wants to watch this more, and that might be the case. That might very well be the case. But if we think about last night's game, okay, you've got 25 players on each team, so 50 players. You multiply that by two parents. It's 100. It's 150 people, right? Who should, on some level, want to go watch this game, after the fact, during the fact, whatever. You include coaches and coaching staff, grandparents. So, and again, maybe it's one parent for not two for every single situation. There should be at least 200 to 300 views of that game. There's 40 right now. And again, we were headed on a new YouTube channel, but we put it out to our social medias yesterday. So, there's a lot of reasons as to why people can still find this thing. It wouldn't take that much, and we didn't do a lot of marketing of it. That's that's an internal thing, not necessarily an external thing, but it's a shame.
Right.
I mean, because again, if I look at the games that we do on a regular basis, if I were to compare a women's game to a men's game as far as coverage, we give them the same coverage. The views are significantly different. Like significantly different. And
what's up, Ken? What's going on?
We need to know why. Why are you just don't care? I mean, why? And I said this before on a previous show about how we need, like, if we want to change this mentality of women going to sporting events and participating in this, it's going to have to come with women leading the way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you're expecting a man to, grab the entire family and go watch a WNBA basketball game or turn that on the TV, well, that's short-lived.
Right.
You need to have women leading the charge,
Mm-hmm.
where we could all stand side by side and go and watch these events. But that doesn't seem to be happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's real easy. It is real easy to point fingers and make excuses and all of the above. But why aren't we seeing this this increased viewership of women's sports?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we are at the professional levels, but where does it start?
Right.
I
would say we are. I would say we are seeing it at the professional level. I mean,
well, we are, but I mean,
yeah, right.
But to be fair, that's easy. Right. That's easy, right?
I guess
easy
the
to
hope,
do that.
Right. I guess the hope is that there would be some sort of trickle down effect, right? And the truth is that when you get these professional leagues to a level of popularity, what that does is it starts to promote the lower levels and figuring out who's going to be the next one to climb all the way there, right? Because I always like taking the WNBA as a case study, and there's a brand new professional softball league. I know they tried out a different league once upon a time, who's one of the best names historically, like Jenny Finch, I think was amazing. And she played professionally.
Softball player,
yeah, and she was a real deal. But they're starting up a new league here in the United States. Ironically enough, one of our minor leaguers for the Whitecaps, his sister, Anna Gold, she plays for Duke, led them to their first ever College World Series appearance, is going to be the one to kind of spearhead that effort. So she's one of the first faces of that league. And so to that degree, we're seeing the popularity increase on the softball side. We've seen it already with volleyball. Volleyball, there are two different professional leagues in America right now. I mean, they got like an AFL, NFL thing going on. They're trying to figure that out. It would probably be a little more effective if they were to combine it and make one league, but these stadiums are packing out. I mean, Van Andel Arena is selling out for Eras Night for a volleyball game. And then you factor in obviously what's going on in the WNBA, as I just mentioned. I mean, you just look at the side by sides when you go year from year, right? You go from, and I saw this compilation yesterday, and it kind of blew my mind. 21, the gym's empty, and they showed it. I think it was specifically in Chicago. And then you insert, Clark and Reese and all these other players and the rivalry dynamic they had in college and everything else. And now these places are starting to sell out. These places are starting to sell more tickets and people are more invested. Now you throw in Paige Buchers and some of these others. Now these stars are getting more recognition. So that, in my mind, and it has in some way or shape increased the popularity of the college game, which will in turn increase the popularity of the high school game. And so that's where, to me, but it's hard with soccer. We talked about it's different. I do think, there is maybe a level of popularity, but let me ask you this. The transition from, because I know we went from strictly MSN to MSN, and then we went to NSN, and obviously we do games across the country, and you were talking to me about that discrepancy a little bit before the show began. Is this something that you're feeling like, because I can answer this, I feel like sometimes people forget that we are MSN at the same exact time, because I know we operate under the premise of being NSN most of the time. Do you think there's a little bit of that worked in there as well? Like people just don't know who we are necessarily?
No, I don't think that's it. I mean, we have data. I have data from the last 4 years. I could pick at any point, regardless of, and again, we'll just just type in Troy Athens on my back end here, and we'll just take a look and see. So, trying to see if I have a whole bunch of maybe it's just Athens. Maybe that's probably better. Yeah, that's better. I can look at all these things. So last year on May the 8th, we actually covered Athens versus Grand Blanc. Right? We actually covered that game last year. Same. I was like, I remember I was doing this game last year. And that game had 303 views. Okay. That game. Okay. If I look at a year prior to that, April 20th, 2023, actually, this is 2 years ago. That was a 716 views. All right. So that game was number 13. That was Troy High versus Athens. So that game, the rivalry game, those games tend to do better. Athens versus Dakota, 140. Athens versus, again, 140. If I look at the boys team, it's quadruple that. 1,300 views, 900 views, right? It's not even in the same ballpark. If I look, again, obviously we had, we did the state finals and things like that, but I'm looking at the girls' side specifically when these games take place. 303, right? Boys soccer team 617, boys soccer team 557, boys soccer team 963, 600, 618, 974, 2100. Right? I mean, so the math doesn't lie. Right? And that's just Athens. Right. And Athens is a team that's going to give us more love, and there's going to be more around that than the opposite, right? Than the latter. We're doing the Troy Athens game next week, so that game will draw a pretty good crowd and pretty good numbers. But again, I can look at these girls soccer games, and can tell you that some just do far better than others. And I'm not putting my finger on why that would be. But if I look again, going back to last year, because looking here, Troy High. Nope, I'm looking for like that summer. Hang on here. I'll give an example. The state finals. We did the state finals radio calls this past year, right, for both girls and boys soccer. The Rochester Adams final, actually the Troy Athens final from the year before did 2,100 views. Okay. The state finals up in East Lansing combined didn't hit that number. 222, 495, 168, 198. So I don't think that's even 1,000. Probably not. But one game did 2,100. The rest of them didn't even equal that. They're not showing up. Now, does that mean that boys are going to go watch theirs more than girls? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But they're not showing up. They're not going and watching. Is it because they don't know? I don't think that's it.
Right.
In 2025, you're telling me a player's not going to go back and like Google themselves or Google their team to see if there's a game video of them? Oh boy, the cat is out.
Oh, yeah, it's fighting me over here.
Jeez, oh Pete's. No, get that thing out of here. Nope.
She cares.
Get it out of here. Thank you.
It's not a cat guy, apparently. No, yeah, I agree. I agree with you. And it is frustrating to a certain extent. I think it has to do with matchups. I mean, what was the attendance like? I mean, was it a good turnout yesterday? I mean, that's the other side, right? Too.
Well, Athens can seat, I think, probably 5,000, 6,000 people. So I mean, it's never going to look good, right? With that. But I mean, it just goes to show you. I want to do something. I've never done this before. Not on this plot, not on here, but the analytics of what it looks like for us, analytic wise. Let me do this here. So, this here is our back end of our YouTube channel, right? So you can see, and this is all of 2025. So from January 1 through May 2nd, this is our numbers. All right. So we've received 129,000 views so far in 2025. Obviously, a big bulk of that coming from the MASL, coming from a lot of the leagues that we've been doing here since March 1st. We currently have 6,310 subscribers. We've actually had 3,000 views just in the last 48 hours. Okay, so kind of give you an idea. We our shorts are built into here as well, but again, you can kind of get the idea of all of this. Content wise, 405 live stream events so far in 2025. All right, now in all of last year, we did just under 500 total live streams. So to put things in perspective, we are already past or surpassing what we did last year. All right. I come down here again, live streams 384, shorts 187. It shows you again our viewers across formats, live only, watching both. How many impressions we've had so far this year? 1.6 million impressions, meaning that when you go to YouTube and you are searching, or you're just scrolling through your video library, that's what these impressions are. 53,000 views came from impressions, meaning that someone was going through and searching and trying to find us. And that's what that means. Our live streams, 66,000. Our shorts, 46. Our shorts are actually making some headway, and that's a testament to you and Victoria on what you're doing in Shortland for us. But that's a tremendous. And then 17,000 views of just videos, like our highlight videos and things like that, right? If I come here, I can show you our audience, what our audience is made up, right? When they watch our games, when they are watching on YouTube, right? When they're coming, 44% of our views come from TV. Pretty cool to think about that, right? 44% of people are in their home are watching these games on their TV, watching our platform on their telly, as they would say across the pond.
And that's the other thing too, is like the majority. I feel like what kind of carries us in a lot of different spots is the live streaming aspect. I mean, that's what it really boils down to, and it's not that complicated. We are providing a place to watch and listen and consume high school sports. That is something that has not been available for a long, long time, especially not in the sport of soccer, not to the extent that we go. I mean, if we think about it, like even me, I couldn't really, I could on Huddle. I guess we had like film cameras, but that was more for practice. That was more for, hey, getting ready for the next game or this, that, or the other thing. That wasn't necessarily for going back and actually watching the game. There wasn't really a call attached to any plays. There wasn't really a broadcast or a replay or anything else like that. So that's that when it really boils down to it, that's why, and that's what really helps our company do what we do, is because that's at its very core, the very basic level. We're just giving you an opportunity to watch the game if you can't make it to the game. And how many times has that been a conflict, especially for parents who maybe work or can't get there, or other family members who want to get there, but again, there's logistics that don't line up. That's really what it is. That's all of this boils down to, just that. So it's interesting. But anyways, continue.
The interesting thing, this number's pretty much been the same since day one, is that 86% of our viewers are non-subscribers. And that's when a long time ago I stopped caring about the overall subscribership of our platform, because what it means to me is that, again, regardless of whether you subscribe to my platform, or this platform, you're still watching. So that's fine. Right. The second aspect of this is that, again, depending upon the team, depending upon the team who is playing, will really dictate who's going to hop on in and who's not. Right. So, but hey, 65% of our views come from here. We joke around about this behind the scenes. And there are a lot of organizations and companies and hobbyists that do what we do. Mm-hmm. Right. And I say that because there are a lot of organizations out there Lansing Common is a community-based soccer team. They have their own streaming that they do internally on their own platform. Okay. And their numbers are probably going to look, when I say numbers, like the number of viewers, like the 65.3%, this 2.8%, this kind of breakdown, probably very similar on their back end of their YouTube channel, right? This non-subscriber thing, probably pretty close. Probably pretty close. It's going to be somewhere in that neighborhood. It might be higher because they only are doing their games and a couple other things, but it might be higher, where it's like 35%, whatever, maybe. But I mean, it's not going to be like, significantly on the other. It's not going to be like 85% are subscribers and, 15% are non-subscribers. No, it's going to be highly, in a sense where it's, 75, 25, 80, 20, what in favor of non-subscribers. I feel pretty confident in saying that. And then, you come up here and, these overviews, right? Now, granted, they're not going to have 130,000 views over the course of a 4-month period, right? They're going to do maybe 25,000 the entire summer, right? Maybe 30,000 the entire summer because they have, there's 7 broadcasts and they're going to get, maybe it's more like 10,000 views. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's something like that. But, and again, it's not a knock on that, but I would challenge other organizations to also share this information on their screen, because this is how legitimate numbers. I've talked about this before, is that, when I first got into this like 7 years ago of streaming and broadcasting and things like that, there were things, in order to monetize, you have to be in order to be able to monetize on YouTube, where you're actually making money. And I get money from YouTube every month. Now, it's not a lot of money. We bring in about $140 to $150 a month. Okay. So it's not a significant amount of money. And as our views increase, that number will increase significantly. But be that as it may, back when you're first starting, in order to even get monetized on YouTube, you have to have 1,000 subscribers. Okay. And you have to have 4,000 watch hours on a rolling calendar. So, for example, if I had 3,999 watch hours as of yesterday, and then I went to 4,000 today, I would be able to enter into the YouTube Partner Program. If that dropped down tomorrow back to 3,988, I would be no longer in the YouTube Partner Program. That's how that works. It's a rolling calendar, right? So, and it's based off of what you did yesterday through the last 12 months, not what you're doing today. And so that's how you stay in the program. Now, you can look here. So we've done 11,000 watch hours, almost 12,000 watch hours in this year so far. Okay. We are in no danger of losing our monetization over watch hours. And we're not going to lose it over subscribers. We've got 6,310. We're well over that threshold. So, but anyways, just to kind of give you an idea. But the reason why I say other organizations should maybe share this with the world, because, we go out, we're trying to get ad space. I'm trying to sell ad dollars to companies. Okay. I'm trying to sell ad space in our broadcasts on a regular basis. Me and you, Nathan, we do it all the time. Okay. And if you're an advertiser who wants to put their faith and their money and their resources into an organization like us, knowing that 44% of the people who watch you are watching it on TV, that's a pretty big deal. On your phone, 34.6% on your phone, right? Knowing that 65% of our audience is here in the United States. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Knowing that 92% of our audience is not looking at subtitles, right? They don't need subtitles. That's a big thing. Did you disappear, Nathan? Are you good? Did I lose you? You want his mic and camera is turned off, so I'm not sure. But it's huge. And the reason why I think this is important is that if you are doing what we do, it's good to know, our numbers. And so I want to show this to you because I think this is important. I'm going to come here. This here is like where all of our this is all of our data, right? Where I can look at anything that we do and the numbers of our games, right? So I can look at hey, our Inside the Game podcast is not doing great in regards to views. I refuse to pay any money to boost viewership on our platform on YouTube. I will never do it. Mark my words, I will never do it. Why? Because when you pay for views, it's bots.
Yeah.
It's bots.
Yep.
It is straight up bots. Okay. So, and you'll see companies that will, or other YouTube channels that will legitimately have a live event that has 7 or 10 viewers, very much like us, 7 or 10 views. And then out of nowhere, the next morning, they've got 3,000 views. And you're just like shaking your head. How is that possible? Well, it's because they've paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
They've paid for those views.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, a week later, they're down now to 1,500 views because YouTube goes through an audit. I want everybody to hear me on this. YouTube is constantly auditing its content because they don't want views that are robotic. They want, because again, they are also trying to make money by selling ad spades in the exchange. You know, those skippable ads that we all are annoyed by, right? Well,
right.
They want to be able to go to their base of advertisers and say, yeah, these things are getting this view, whatever. They want to be able to do that. And if you have a bunch of fake shit happening, they also lose their credibility. So they don't want that. They want real people watching real stuff. So you'll see that. And I can tell you this right now, there are organizations here in Michigan, that's all they do. That is all they do. They post a video, they make a live event, and then 3 hours later, it's got 150 likes, no comments, and 3,000 views. Right. And it's mind-boggling to me.
And the other side of this too is, JT, and I know you'll probably get to this and touch on this in a little bit. And I've seen this at least on the TikTok side, because I got to a point with my content creation there where I was like, man, I'm really not getting a whole lot of attention on my stuff. I feel like I should be getting more views on my content and this, that, and the other thing. So I was like, you know what? I was like, maybe I was thinking about paying. I was like, maybe post, promote, whatever. And then I learned as I was researching, like, a lot of these places, when you buy that stuff, you have to continue buying it. It's not just a thing where you buy it once and all of a sudden your page is that much better. Like, you have to continue doing it, because when you continue doing it, then the algorithm is actually, it becomes an expectation. And then once you stop paying, your views plummet yet again. That's what it was talking about. It's momentary. It's not like it's something that like it creates like an upward trajectory. Like, oh, I pay for it and my following gets slowly, it's a straight line. It's not a straight line. Actually, it's the opposite. If you pay for it and then you don't pay for it, you're going to go from where you are to all the way down to the bottom. And you're right. It's not authentic views. It's bots.
No, it's not. It's not authentic. And to be fair, if I'm asking a business for $5,000 and I take the $5,000 that they give me and I take $100 of it, pay, because again, you can't do it through YouTube. You have to go through a third party. They're usually based out of like India, China, Asia. They're on the other side of the world. They might be a business they say is based here in Michigan, or in the United States, but they are literally, again, if you ever watch these, they have these bot rooms where you literally see like 1,000 phones just kind of hanging, and they're all watching the same thing at the same time. It's amazing, because it's my job to know this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. It's my job as a director of broadcasting and the president and founder of this organization to truly understand how this works. I know my numbers. If you ask me at any given time, I can tell you how many subscribers we have, our current views, and what we're doing on a regular basis. I can tell that because I look at this stuff every single day. And it pisses me off to my core when I see other organizations, other entities that claim to be elevating the game of soccer and are doing this shit and are doing this. And you wouldn't have to go far to find it. There are places here in Michigan that do this exact same thing, and they do it every single time they post a video, every single time that they do this. And again, I've got 6,310 subscribers. That's what NSN has. Okay, I don't have 20,000 subscribers. Okay. If you look at our numbers, and 87% of our views are non-subscribers. 87%. So that 13%, right? So if we are posting a video, right, and 100 views come in, 13 people are subscribers. 87 are not. That's how it works for us. That's our numbers. And if it goes, I've seen it as at 82%. I've seen it at 85%. So it's going to be a constant fluctuation, somewhere between 75 and 85 is where it'll end up being. I firmly believe that. But like, if I are inside the game, again, it gets 20 to 30 to 40 views of its show on YouTube. Okay. It's not great. It's not great. It's still 20 views. It is the hardest views to get. Yep. It is the hardest views. What we do on Monday through Friday from 9 to 10 are the hardest views to get. Right. We're burying a show on a platform that is live soccer games every single day of the week. And we're here at 9 o'clock in the morning when everybody's working. It is the hardest show to get views on. It'd be very easy for me to pull out my credit card, go onto a platform, and boost our views. It'd be the easiest thing for me to do. Okay. But I don't do it because it's not authentic. And it doesn't help us. It doesn't help me. Me showing 2,000 views that I had to pay for does not help me in the long run. Right. Doesn't help me. Right. And I think it's important that the audience and the world out there know that this is happening. And it's happening on a wide level. You know, where you're like, okay. And again, not a live soccer game. Because live soccer games, to be fair, are going to get betting on your fan base, are going to get anywhere from 300-400 views up to a couple thousand, depending upon the following of your team. I don't boost that. But like, if you're going to sit here and tell me that a show on a Sunday night at 9 o'clock, gets 6 views in real time, and then all of a sudden by 5 o'clock the next morning, it's got 2,700 views. I would love to know what that show has that make people so engaged that they want to watch it over the middle of the night. The next morning. Because I'm sorry, but there's nothing about our show, Nathan, that is so appealing that people are going to pick it up and want to watch it in 3 hours. 4,000 people.
And it's not, like I said, it circles back to that point about it's not authentic. Like we're the everything about growing, especially when you talk about a podcast or a show, sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it takes a year, a couple years to actually get the ball rolling. And the only reason is because you need to get people that are authentically interested. And then that crop builds on the others. And then they start coming back for more and more. And it's also this line of like, when people ask us, well, what are you in it for? Are you in it for the dollar signs? It's like, well, that seems more to me like a byproduct of the work that we do, right? So we try to do the best, most professional work that we can to put the best product out there. And then the money and everything else that we get that might come with that, the business opportunities, is a great addition. But that's not why we're here. And so I can see why the frustrating side of it is too. If our goal is to grow the game, then why are we doing just cheap things to try and get more clicks, to get more views? And listen, everybody's trying to win this social media rat race. Like we're not alone in this. Everyone's trying to win it. Everyone's trying to get more views. Everyone is trying to get more engagement. So it's not just exclusive, but you're right. They're not the only ones. There's a lot of people that will go out of their way to invest a lot of money in this. But again, we're kind of losing the point of why we're doing all this. If that's what we're doing, if we're investing so heavily in trying to just buy more and get more just eyeballs, then I think we're losing kind of the point at the end of the day. And honestly, truthfully, like the sign of a good show, the sign of a good product is you don't need it. And there have been multiple different instances where we've had videos do really well, where we've had, 3,000-4,000 people watch videos. We didn't need to buy a single one of them.
No.
We didn't need to buy a single one of them, and that's because we were good on that day. We were good in that segment. We put some effort into it. Again, the amount of videos that we're pushing every single day, that's the thing that I think people struggle with, is the level of consistency. And that will always drag people down if you're not consistent enough with anything when it comes to posting, when it comes to engagement, when it comes to fan stuff, because people like what they like. We're trying to be the most consistent force here. And again, that's part of the reason why.
I'm just going to put this out there. Okay. We spend $40,000 a month on payroll. Like, that's our payroll right now. Right. That's what I pay in payroll. So if you think for some second that this is like a hobby for me, then you need to turn off your phone, your TV, and you can go someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
$40,000 a month on payroll. And so we take this very seriously. And 20 views is not anywhere near good enough. But I will be damned if I take any money and spend it on driving views, fake views, to what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And we have had to, as a result of the competitive world that we're in, the competitive world that we are in, we created the high school ranking show 3 years ago and built that thing up and highlighting high school soccer players and really, really doing a really good job. And the Coaches Association, because of pressure from other places, had to say, hey, we want to open this up to other places to do their same thing. Okay. I mean, I wasn't happy about it because I don't think that another organization or other organizations in this area have earned the right to do that, or at least compete with us in that level. But I bit the bullet and said, screw it. We'll continue to do what we do, and we'll do a freaking unbelievable job with it. That's what we'll do. And we rock that show every single Sunday night. Every single Sunday night, we rock that show.
Mm-hmm.
And we've lost views over this competitive, whatever you want to call it. We've lost views. I'll be the first one to tell it to you. Okay, fair. You go watch our show, you go watch somebody else's show. It's not even close in comparison, the quality of the broadcast. It's not even close.
Mm-hmm.
But again, our views are 100% real.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Okay, 100%. It will take you about 13 seconds to go to another place and look at these views and see who's real and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
And because sometimes they forget to boost them. Sometimes they forget. So 1 week you got 5 weeks of 3,000 views.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's 1 week in there where there's 19. Explain that to me. Explain that to me. If you are a viewer and you go to my website or our YouTube channel and see all of our views, 19, 20, 30, 40, every week, and all of a sudden we started getting hundreds, not thousands, hundreds. You're like, okay, they got a bump. They did it. Okay, something's working. They're starting to get a better following, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I was like going from 40 to 1,800, oh wow, that's impressive.
But
and then every week it's 1,800. Like, it's 1,800 every week. Like, wow, that's really consistent. That's really consistent. And then, oops, I forgot to do one back to 19.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, and sometimes if you go watch early enough, you'll actually see they already have 150 likes before they have over 100 views. How is that possible? And again, you might say, you're John, you're salty. Yes, I am salty. I am salty because we invest time, money, resources into making this thing great.
Right.
And it to my core, it drives me nuts that other organizations, hobbyists, whatever you want to call it, are going out there and claiming that they're getting these massive amounts of followers and views, and it's not even close to being not even close.
Yeah.
Because I do this for a living. And when I go to an advertiser and say we get 1.6 million impressions over the last 4 months, we had 100 and whatever how many views it was, 140,000 views, whatever we had in that time period.
Mhm.
right? W- that is 100% true.
Mhm.
There's no, I mean, I might go in there and watch a game because I'm curious. So maybe there's 1 or 2 in there that's from me. Okay, my bad. But I mean, the vast majority of these views are from people out there watching our content because they want to watch their team. They want to watch, this. And the 248 views that we got from our high school ranking show last weekend are 248 different people watching our show.
Mm.
And that doesn't count what happens on, because we actually send that show to Twitter, Facebook, and Roku. So collectively, that show probably had 5 or 6, 700 views last week.
Mm.
But the only thing that we pay for right now is on Facebook and on Twitter. We pay to drive traffic to our website and to our Twitter and Facebook pages to increase our followers on those platforms.
Mhm.
And what we're doing with Instagram here soon too. But I do pay for that. I do.
Right.
It cost me, I think, $300 or $400 a month, but not to drive views, just to increase our traffic on social media.
Mm.
That's it. Only thing I pay for. And we just started doing that about 2.5 months ago. I never did it before that. Right. And so, because now that we're a national platform, I wanted to make sure that we were driving up our followers on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And we've been doing that on the National Soccer Network. And so we'll continue to do that because we want to get to 100,000 followers, 100,000, whatever. We want to
Mhm.
do that. But we are not doing that on YouTube. I will never do that, ever. Because I can't go to an advertiser and tell them that I had 3,000 views that came from Bangladesh.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
I that's what I'm saying. I would love
And
to
that
see them.
doesn't drive our show. That doesn't change the bottom line. That doesn't move the needle at the end of the day. It doesn't. It seems not just momentary. It just seems like in this exact right moment, it might be fun to look at that number and go, "Ooh, nice, okay." A couple thousand people watch this, but it's like it's not, and that's why you look at. It's not just impressions. It's not just likes. I know that typically impressions are the things that we base everything off of, and that's what people typically get opportunities for. But people have to engage in the conversation. People have to comment. People have to, and that's why we try to, create things that people want to talk about. Hot button issues. That's why we talk about the U.S. men's national team. Now there hasn't really been much to talk about. They haven't been playing, but that's why we focus on. That's why we do the research as to what is the audience interested in hearing us talking about. What's a different angle. That's why we look into those things, because there is an authentic way of growing this without having to force it. And I
Yeah.
think that's not, it's also a sign of just not being all that good at what you do. If you feel like you have to take shortcuts in order to get the end result, you're just not very talented at what you do. And that's okay. Like, no one is saying you have to be, but that's the part of, with us, I feel like there's enough here, and we have the ability to actually like do something with this. This isn't something where like, I'm so busy I just have to try to do everything shortcut wise in order to get there. But the truth is, again, if you're doing all of those things, then it's a sign that you're simply not doing your homework, and that's a problem too. And it's even podcasting world in general. I remember we got that one snide comment from that one person in our comment section that said podcast equipment should be more expensive. I don't think it's. I mean, it's still pretty expensive, still fairly expensive. The thing that's inexpensive is having internet. Like everybody and their cousin has internet. As so long as you have a
Maybe.
Wi-Fi, yeah, well, yeah, for the most part. But it's so long as you have Wi-Fi, you can have a show. But I don't think people think about how much actually goes into that. There is some level of pre-show prep. Now, it might not be a lot. It might just be a brief conversation about how we're going to attack this, what we're going to talk about. But there is post editing. There is, getting people onto the show. There's getting new people invested into the show. There's sharing the show. There's so much involved that I don't think people actually truly realize it until they're in it. And then they're like, oh no, you know what I mean? I don't actually have a whole lot of free space to be able to invest a lot in this. I'm just going to throw money around in order to try to get more and more views and more attention, but I do think it's a competitive space too. I feel like we're kind of maybe not butting heads, but we're definitely competing with people at the same exact time, and that can be good. But there's also a level of frustration. Like let's all just work together, right? We all just be friends. You want to be my friend, JT?
I mean, I am your friend. I
Okay,
told you
all right,
before.
good. All right.
I told this before. I don't have any hard feelings towards.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we take this seriously, and I do believe that other places take it seriously as well. I'm not gonna. I can't sit for 1 second. I think that we all have reasons for why we do what we do, and we can all be in this space. I can't do every game. We can't do every game in America. So okay, I can't do every game in Michigan. I just can't. so the reality is, other organizations, other entities, other broadcast companies are going to have to step up anyways. Right. So
Right.
it's not like I can handle it all. But again, if it's about throwing money, right? If it's about throwing money, then sure. I mean, throw money away. But I mean, I understand that. I mean, like if you're asking someone to give you money to market, to advertise with you, and they're looking at your viewership based on what you're doing, I mean, I don't say that that's fraud. I think it's fraudulent. I don't know if you can call it fraud. I mean, it's legally, you're legally allowed to go out and buy these views. I mean, so it's not like it's an illegal thing. I just don't know how you can use the numbers to justify, the advertising. I mean, because again, if I go out and say I had 148,000 views this past month, which is what we've had in the last 28 days, we've had 49,000 views. I can take that 49,000 views and say, okay, I want to go out and try to sell ad space against future views based on the 49,000. Okay. And that would be what I would do. Now, if I had 1 million views that I bought and paid for, I would be using those 1 million views, right? I'd be going, I got 1 million views. I'm going to go out and try and get some advertising dollars. And they're going to, okay, well, the first questions they ask is who's watching, where are they watching from? What countries are they watching from? You know what I mean?
Right.
And again, maybe these companies have it where your views all come from the United States. I mean, that's very possible. Again, that's still, that's still a question mark. But, I've been doing this long enough to know what's compelling about wanting to watch us. Right? What's compelling about wanting to watch Inside the Game with Nathan and Jonathan? Right? What's compelling about that? To be fair, right now, probably not. A lot of people are compelled to want to watch us, or else we'd have 3,000 views. Okay. But right now, there's 19 people watching us and all the platforms that we're on. No problem saying that. Sometimes it's 25, sometimes it's 40.
Yeah, and you got to think about it. You got to think about it this way. That's, and I said this on the last show that I did, and we actually gained a little bit of momentum at my own personal show that I had during COVID. I ended up dropping it because obviously I got back into working and doing play-by-play and all these other things, but it's still 19, 20, 25, 30, 40 people that took time out of their day to watch our show. Those are 40 individual human beings that every day they wake up and they have 1,800 things to do. They got to go to work. They got to take care of the kids. They got to do all these other things. They got to, meal prep. It just, but there's never enough time. Right? Everybody could use an extra 3-4 hours in the day. Honestly, I would love it if the day was 28 hours long as opposed to 24. Because I feel like that would help out a lot of people.
From this day forward,
yeah,
28 hours in a day.
Those are 30, 40 people that took time out of whatever sort of messed up schedule their day is to actually watch our show. So that is something that you can always take to the bank with you, and you can build off of that. Yeah, it's not 1 million people, but also we don't have the credibility to be able to carry couple thousand people. Not yet. All right, that yet is the important part of that sentence, but we still have a crop of people who, again, are taking time out of what they have going on, the most valuable asset you can have, which is time, and they're coming to our platform to watch our show. That's a good place to build off of it. And if you bury those people with fake views, if you pass over these people who come back time and time again, whether it be Peter, whether it be Jimmy Co, whether it be Coffee Firm, with any of these guys that continue to come back and watch our stuff. You can't poo-poo that, right? Because they are actually ones that are invested.
And I can almost guarantee you that that probably on some level pisses the people off who are watching this show. They're like, well, that's bullshit. Why would someone do that? Well, I mean, maybe not why, but authentically, you know, I know enough about Ken Seelman and Lansing Common and Footy 517 to know that they take a lot of pride in what they do with their team and that community organization. Ken has his own podcast called The Coffee Firm. They have their own podcast.
Mm-hmm.
They spend every Wednesday doing their podcast. Now it's an audio only podcast. They're not doing it like we do it, where it's live, and they put a lot of time and effort into that show. And yeah, they want their show to get hundreds of views.
Mm-hmm.
But I get this impression that would piss off them to their core too, right? That would upset them because they want real views. They want people to buy into what they're doing,
mm-hmm.
right? And get behind it. And they'd much rather have 100 people get behind them that are real and want to come back and crave more from them than the 10,000 that are, or to whatever number it would be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why they don't do it, you know, and so be it.
Yeah.
So again, this isn't meant to, like, you know, bash. I'm not bashing anybody.
It's true. I mean, it's worth talking about.
Yeah. I mean, this is it. If anyone ever wants to see our numbers, I'm happy to show them because there's nothing to hide. It's right here in clear day. I will show you any day of the week, and put everything we have into putting out the best product and understanding that, you know, the games we cover, a lot of it is dependent upon not what I do, but how these teams interact within their community. And we've just created, you know, a destination for them to come watch the game. So if I get 500 views, if I get 7,000, to be fair, that's kind of doesn't really matter. I mean, we did a commercial on Mackinac Island here back 3 years ago. It is the single best video we've ever done. It has like 7,100 views, right on our YouTube channel. It's a video of a hotel, the Windermere, right? It's got 7,000 views. And the reason why is because they've embedded that video on the homepage of their website. So, and it was a video about their hotel. I made it when I was there for doing a game for Livonia City FC when they played Mackinac Island FC on the island. It took me about 12 minutes to make. There was no artistic, whatever you want to call it, in that. I just literally made it with an iPhone. And it came out very well. 7,000 views. It's like, you know, 7,000 views.
I'm even looking at our page right now. I mean, you know, we're starting to get consistently right around 400 or 500. I mean, there was a while there where we were getting about 70, 80. You know, sometimes I get 5 views on a video, but that's the suck that you have to kind of go through in order to get to the fun, exciting stuff, in order to make 100%. A name. Yeah,
100%.
So I agree.
Yeah, we you know, again, we don't take this lightly.
Yeah.
And you as our viewers should demand way more than us, way more. Our job is to continue to rise up, to continue to rise to the occasion, to continue to give you more, more. That should be the demand.
Right.
And if I wanted to go out and get views, I could get them in 12 seconds. It would take a credit card and a zip code. That's it.
But that doesn't.
Is that what you want?
Yeah, it doesn't change anything. Yeah.
Is that what you want? I mean, is that what people want? Is that what makes no? I mean, Mr. Beast. It took him 7 years to get to a point where this is doing what he's. I mean, it took him, like, he even says it, man. It was like hitting my head against the wall for 5 years, and finally, after 5 years, just something just clicked, and finally, it took off. It just clicked.
And there had to be, and I'll leave it with this thought because I know we're going maybe a little bit long here, but. You know, the other side is I'm sure there were people along the way that were like, dude, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, here's an easy way to get, you know, an extra 500,000, you know, or you know, here's an easy way in order to get this. I see this all the time with all these advertisements on the social media space. Like, are you stuck on 100 views? It's like, Yeah, but I'm okay with it for now because they might be 100 actual human beings that are watching it. And if 5 of them like this video and then 10 like the next one, and then all of a sudden we have one that pops off and now there's 5,000 views and we get 200 people that look at our page, human beings that actually follow the game of soccer that look at our page in that stretch of time, yeah, that's a hell of a lot more valuable than breaking out the wallet and just trying to get, we have to walk this fine line. I realize getting people to watch our content is important, but the minute we step over that line and we start getting into the ball game of we're going to pay for everything, it's where you get hurt. It's where you get hurt bad.
No doubt. Episode 76 in the books on this Friday, May the 2nd. Be back here on Monday, Cinco de Mayo. Grab your tequila, your sombreros, and get ready for some chips and salsa on Monday, because that's what we are doing here on Monday. I might even, I don't know if I even have a sombrero, but maybe I'll buy one. All right. But either way, it's Cinco de Mayo this Monday, and we couldn't be more excited to bring you episode number 77. We're ever so closer to 80 and a few steps closer to 100. But either way, that'll wrap it up here on Friday. We'll be back at this again on Monday, same time, same place, right here on Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. Have a great weekend, everybody. This has been a presentation of the National Soccer Network.